All right, let's get right into it. If you've ever looked at the news and felt like you're trying to follow a dozen different chess games all at once, you're definitely not alone. Think of this as your toolkit. We're going to break down international relations, or IR as it's known, which is basically the blueprint for understanding how our world actually works.
You know the feeling. You're scrolling through your feed and you see headlines about trade wars, new military alliances, a global race for AI. It can feel totally chaotic, right? But believe it or not, underneath all that noise, there's a kind of logic, a set of players and rules that helps explain why all this stuff is happening.
So what is this thing called international relations? Well, at its heart, it's the study of how everyone interacts on the world stage. But here's the key thing to notice. It's not just about countries anymore. We're also talking about huge international organizations like the UN, nonprofits like Doctors Without Borders, and of course, massive multinational corporations like Apple or Meta. Okay, to make this all a little easier to get our heads around, let's imagine the world is one giant, incredibly complicated game board. And to understand any game, you've got to know two things first. Who are the players, and what are the basic rules that shape their moves?
So who's actually at the table? Well, first you have your classic players, states, countries like the USA, China, or Kenya. But they are not playing alone. You've also got IGOs, which are basically clubs that states create to work together, like the UN. Then there are NGOs, groups that are totally independent of governments. And finally, you have these giant multinational corporations that can have more economic clout than a lot of countries. The big takeaway here? This game board is crowded.
Now, for the rules of the game, this is where it gets really interesting. First, you have sovereignty. That's the idea that a country is the boss inside its own borders. Simple enough. Then there's power, which is just the ability to get other players to do what you want. And here's the big one, anarchy. Now hold on, this doesn't mean chaos and fires everywhere. It just means there's no world government. There's no global 911 you can call. And because of that, states are always trying to maintain a balance of power, making sure no single player gets too strong and just takes over the whole board.
Okay, so we've got our players and the basic rules. But how do we figure out their strategy? Why do they make the moves they do? Well, IR gives us a few different sets of glasses, or lenses, to look at the game board. And each one shows us something totally different. And this table lays out the three big ones perfectly. If you put on the realist glasses, you see a world that's all about a struggle for survival. They're always asking, who has the power? Then you have the liberals. They're a bit more optimistic. They see a world of connections and focus on cooperation, so they're always asking, how can we all work together? And then you've got the constructivists. They say, hold on, the whole game is shaped by our ideas and beliefs. They'd ask, what do we all agree is right and wrong? Because changing those shared beliefs can change the entire game. All right, so this isn't just a bunch of abstract theory. Let's bring this down to earth and apply these ideas to what's happening right now. These players, these rules, these different worldviews, they are clashing in real time, creating some major global flashpoints. Let's look at where the game is getting really intense. Probably the single biggest change to the whole game board is this. We're moving away from a world with one clear superpower, the US, to what's called a multipolar world. As you can see right here, other major powers like China, the EU, and India are on the rise. And that creates a much more competitive, much less predictable game for everybody. And you can see this competition playing out big time in the world of technology. There's this intense techno-nationalism going on, especially in the race for AI between the US and China. And this is not just about who makes the coolest gadgets, it's a real battle for who's going to dominate the economy and military of the 21st century. Another huge flashpoint, the climate. Yeah, climate change is no longer just an environmental topic, it's a fundamental security issue. It's kicking off new conflicts over everything from who gets water in the Middle East to who controls the brand new shipping lanes that are opening up in the Arctic because the ice is melting. For a long time, the thinking was that if we all trade with each other, we'll all get along. But now, that very economic connection, that interdependence, is being turned into a weapon. Countries are using things like sanctions, trade rules, and even their energy supplies as tools to pressure each other. The global economy is becoming a new kind of battlefield. And speaking of battlefields, the actual technology of war is undergoing a mind-bending change. We're talking about AI and autonomous weapons. Drones that could, theoretically, make their own decisions to kill. This is sparking a brand new kind of arms race, and obviously raises some massive ethical questions. Like, can you really trust a machine to understand the laws of war? So what happens when you have all this rising competition? Well, the very institutions that were designed to get everyone to cooperate start to weaken. We're seeing organizations like the UN and the World Trade Organization get stuck in gridlock, which makes it way, way harder to solve the huge global problems that affect every single one of us. So if you put it all together, rising powers, new conflicts over tech and climate, and our global teamwork muscles getting weaker, where does that leave all of us? What's the core challenge we're really facing? This quote just absolutely hits the nail on the head. As power spreads out to more players on the game board, it gets a lot harder to agree on the rules. We risk ending up in a world with a bunch of competing systems where tackling global problems becomes almost impossible. And that, right there, leads us to the final, absolutely critical question. We are all facing massive, shared crises, pandemics, climate change, that demand we cooperate. But at the exact same time, the competition between the world's major powers is getting more intense. So the question is, will we find a way to cooperate on the threats that unite us? Or are we going to collide over the interests that divide us? That's the central drama of our world today.